Hello everyone. Today I'm going to demonstrate add bean annotation in the Spring Framework. For that you need to have a previous understanding on the add configuration annotation in the Spring Framework. If you do not know about add configuration annotation, just watch my previous demo on the add configuration annotation. So I'm using the code sample Java codes which I've used in my uh, previous demo. So this is the car class having annotated with add component annotation and having a simple display method. It will display this statement, this line in the console, and the other one is configuration file. Have a configuration file. Uh, it will do the component scan in the package, the current package, and it will create the objects. It will check for the classes having annotation at component, and it will create an object. So since we have given the at component scan, it will create the classes having a at component annotation. For the uh, classes having at component annotation, it will create an object and place it in the application context. So this is the purpose it will doing. And in the test class, so I am using this uh, annotation config application context. For that I'm passing the configuration file, and in the application context, based on the configuration file we provided, it will create the object and place it in the application context. So here I'm using context.getBean to get the object from the application context. Once I get the object, I will be calling this method uh, to check whether the car object is initiated, and I am able to call this method. So that is the purpose. So let me run this program now. Okay, fine. Now I do not want to use add component annotation for the class, for whatever the class. So in that case, what I can do is, so before that, let me take a sample XML file. So this is, I'm not using any XML file here for creating the objects or placing in the application context. Just I'm using this XML file as a reference. So here, if you see in the XML file, we have a um, XML, the tag with the bean ID equal to some name of the ID and the class. So this will create uh, a car object, and it will be placing in the application context. And for that, the ID will be the car bean. That's how it will be there. The same thing, I want to use it in the configuration file. So for that one, so I do not want to use at component annotation. I am removing this at component annotation and this import as well. There is no at component annotation. So here I will be using, say, method public return car and car bean. So in the configuration file, if you see the configuration file, I'm creating the, in this method, I'm creating the object of the car class. I'm returning it. For that, I will be maintaining, I'll be adding a annotation add bean. So this in the configuration file add bean annotation, and this one is equivalent to this one in the XML configuration file. The same thing we are representing in the Java side in the configuration file. So add bean. So here add bean annotation here, the object is created and this object is placed in the application context. So since the beans are maintained in the configuration file, so no need of having the component scan. So the component scan, actually the purpose is to check for the classes having add component and create the object and place it in the application context. So since we are not having add component, so we can remove this component scan. So this is how we can do it. So now the object is created and placed in the application context. So now there is no change. Instead of component, uh, I'm using at bean annotation and having a method, and I'm placing it in the configuration file. Now that is the only thing, nothing different. So now let me run this one, run the test method, test class. So what happened? Why it is failing? Okay, no bean named car. Okay, got it. So here I'm trying to get by the name get car, get bean of car name. So since here we have given the car bean, so the ID here, if you see, we have a ID of car bean. So whatever the name given to the method will be taken as ID. This will be taken as the ID is nothing but the method name. So that will be let me show you. It will be something like that. So in the application context, there is a car object is present and its ID is car bean. But here what I am trying to do, I am trying to get the object with the name of car, but it's not present in the application context. So that is the reason it is throwing an error. So let me change it to car bean. Now let me run it again. It's coming, right? So if you do not want to change this, I do not let it be car bean, but but you want to use the name as car. So in that case, what you can do is you can give the name here. So now what it will take is, even though method name is car bean, so this one will be considered as a reference. So how it will become is, so something like this. Okay. So now the ID, what is object is created and placed in the application context, and the ID for this one is car, the same car. So, but here I'm trying to call it with the car bean, so which will throw an error. So it says the car bean is not present. Car bean is not present because it's not available because it's a car. The reference is. So now let me run the program now. Now you can see it now. Similarly, let me create one more class, say engine class. I'm having a engine class and I'm writing a simple method. So it just displays this method. This is to test calling the test engine method present in the engine class. So now if you see here there is no add component, and if you go here there is also no bean annotation, then there will be no object, and there will be no object created and placed in the application context until uh, until you need to add component, and or else you need to add bean annotation. So let me add. So if you want we can test it before executing it. So I'm running this method to check the objects present in the application context. So here if you see, this is the only car object present. If you want to get the engine object present in the application context, then you need to add the method. So for this one, instead of writing this one, you can directly write like this as well. Okay, there is no complex logic involved here. So this is the simple, you know, creation of object. Returning new engine, I'm adding it as a it bean annotation. It bean annotation. As I said, by default, since I have not given here in the parentheses any ID, So by default, this method name will be considered as the ID. So right now I'm giving this one as engine obj, the ID. So when this line of code is executed, so application context is created. Application context is created. In the application context, we are passing the configuration file. The configuration file, we have a car bean, right? So first, this one will be placed in the application context, and the next bean is this one, right? The next bean, this one will be placed in the application context. Okay, the objects we already creating, and that object will be placed in the application context. Okay, let's see that objects are present in the application context or not. Okay, now you can see both the objects, car and engine object, both are present in the application context. Okay, that's fine, but let me take here private engine engine, and here itself I am engine dot test engine. Nothing is there, just I'm printing a new line, or else I can uh, what I can do is I can write it here a new line. Okay, so it will print this one, and it will go to the test engine, and in the engine, okay, engine, in the engine class it should be printing this one. So, and we know the car object and engine objects are both present in the application context. So the car object and engine objects are present in the application context, right? Let's see when I run this code. Okay, here, let me run this code now, how it will be calling. Okay, I'm uncommenting this line of code. So now let's see what will happen when I call this method. Okay, let me run this test method, a test class. So I'm running the main method present in this test class. It's showing null pointer exception at this one here. So let me write some if condition. Okay, just I'm saying no engine object. So let me run the code again. Now what is displaying no engine object. So even though we have engine object in the application context, we are not getting the engine object in the car class. That means the engine object is not injected into the car class. So for that, what we can do, there are two ways. Uh, okay, let me take a simple one. So the engine object is not injected into this car class. So for that, we already have, we need to inject this engine object into this class. So for that, we can use Autowired. So when we use Autowired, this engine object will be injected into the car class. Now if we run it, Now if you run it, you can see since we have added Autowired, the engine object will be injected into the car class. You got it right. We have engine test engine method of the engine class. This is how it works. So you can do in other way. The other way how we can do is here instead of this I can I'm setting it field level at wire auto wire, right? Generate setter. So here I'm not using any auto wire. So in the configuration file, what I will do is new car object is created, right? Set engine of engine bean I will call. Okay, it does not return, right? So let me make it in a simpler way. Set engine object in this one engine bean. Okay, so since here we are trying to return, so this set engine it does not return anything. Because the set engine if you see, so it does not return anything, it's a void, that is the reason it's showing. So let me remove all this one and return car. Okay, here what I'm doing is car object is already created and set engine method I am calling it the setter method, and for the set method we are calling the engine bean this one, and that object will be set using a set engine method. So this way also you can do it either of the way. So let me run the program now. So now you can see it, right? That's how it bean annotation works. So let me make it uh, the combination of the other way, the third way. So I do not want to use this engine object itself. Okay, let me remove this setter method over here. I'm removing this setter method. Okay, and I will be using for the car class. I will be using it bean. Okay, and for the engine class, I do not want to use it bean. Okay, but for this one, for car class, there is no it component, so we have used the bean it bean for this car object. And for engine, I do not want to use it bean. Then I can use component it component. If I use it component, the engine object, if you see here at configuration, um, so if you want to create an object, if you want to let me remove this one. Okay, for the car object to be placed in the application context, I'm moving this all outside so that it will be easy to understand. Yeah, for car object to be placed in the application context, I'm using this one. This will be placed in the application context. Whereas it for engine, just I'm using the component. If you are using the component, then you need to use at component scan. At component scan. Otherwise, there will be no engine object placed in the application context. Okay, for time being, I will comment this code and we will check it later. So here uh, we are not talking about injecting the engine class, just engine object. Just we are talking about uh, placing the engine object in the application context. So the car, as per this one, the car object is present in the application context. If you see engine, I have a component. Um, so in that case, if I run this one, so let me comment this code and let me run this code now. We have only the car class. The engine object is not present, even though at component. So if, when we are using at component, then we need to specify the at component scan. At component scan. Now what will be happening is this engine object, when we use component scan, then this engine object will be placed in the application context. Let me run the code now. Just I am running this method to check the objects present in the application context. Now you can see both the car and engine objects are present in the application context. Now let me uncomment this code. So now let's see, we both have both car object and engine object present in the application context. Let's see this engine object um, will be in present or not in the car class. So I am uncommenting this line of code. Okay, just before we have seen car and engine objects are present in the application context. No engine object. So the engine object is not injected into the car object. So here that's why I will be using at auto wired. So when I call at auto wired, this engine object will be injected into the car class. So now there will be no null pointer, there will be, this will not be executed. Okay, engine object will not be null. Let me run the program again. I'm running the main method in the test class. So now you can see, right, earlier it displayed no engine object. Now it is displaying this one. So now the engine object is injected. That's why we are able to call the test engine method present in the engine objects. So this is the last example. It's a combination of both the at component at the engine class, at component annotation for the engine class. So we have at component annotation for the engine class. We are using the component scan, and since we do not have any at component for the car class, so here we are creating the bean object in the method, and we have annotated with the at bean, and this one is considered as the id. So it is a combination of both at bean and at component annotation. So this is how it works, and we have even used the at autowire annotation for injecting the object. Thanks for watching the demo. Have a nice day.